Welcome to your personalized deep dive. You're ready to unlock the secrets of manifestation, and we're diving into an interview with David Ghiyam. He's an entrepreneur and a Kabbalah expert who says he's figured out how to manifest incredible success. What's really intriguing is that Ghiyam's journey to abundance wasn't a straight shot.
It's a winding path for sure. He made $1 million at just 15 through stock trading. Then he chose a life of spiritual service and lived with very little money for almost 20 years.
Talk about a plot twist. What led to that dramatic change? Was there some kind of aha moment?
He noticed a pattern. Well, he was mentoring wealthy families early in his career, and he noticed this pattern of dysfunction. This led him to believe subconsciously that wealth meant unhappiness, and he believes this belief blocked his own financial abundance for years.
So he might have been unknowingly sabotaging his own financial success. But what about all that time he spent immersed in spirituality? Wouldn't that help with manifesting?
He actually told Lewis Howes, the interviewer, that he would walk the streets of New York City chanting, "The Creator wants me to have everything. The Creator wants me to have wealth and beautiful children and a healthy lifestyle. And all of it's possible." He was trying to build what he calls a spiritual vessel to receive abundance.
That's an interesting visual. So he was doing the inner work, but something was still holding him back.
Exactly. And this is where his three-step manifestation process comes in. Draw the energy, build the vessel, and then be of service. It seems like he was focused on drawing the energy, but maybe the vessel wasn't quite ready yet.
Okay, let's break down this three-step process. First, we have draw the energy. What does that even look like in practical terms?
Ghiyam says we need to clearly define what we deserve and desire. He believes our desires are divinely inspired and are meant to be fulfilled.
That makes you wonder about the difference between what we might think we want versus what might truly be fulfilling.
He actually makes a distinction between desires and temptations. Desires are like breadcrumbs leading us toward true fulfillment, while temptations offer a quick fix that ultimately leaves you wanting more.
He uses a great analogy, Costco samples. Temptations are like those little tastes that leave you wanting to buy the full product by developing your inner strength and alignment. But how does certainty play into this whole process?
That's a key piece of the puzzle. Ghiyam believes that certainty, even in the face of seemingly insurmountable obstacles, is crucial. He even claims that absolute certainty guarantees a positive outcome.
So even when things look bleak, if you just believe strongly enough, it'll work out. I'm not sure I'm buying that, but I'm definitely curious to hear more.
Well, he has a story that might make you reconsider. He told Lewis Howes about the time he received a call from his CFO informing him that the company had lost $1.1 million due to wire fraud.
Ugh, that's every business owner's worst nightmare. I can't imagine how I'd react in that situation.
Most people would be devastated, right? But instead of panicking, Ghiyam went into a room and started dancing, thanking the Creator repeatedly.
He was grateful for losing $1 million. That's a very unique perspective.
He attributes this reaction to his belief that everything, even seemingly negative events, ultimately serves a greater good. He saw this loss as a test from the Creator and an opportunity to strengthen his certainty.
So he chose to see the silver lining, even in a huge financial setback.
Yeah.
That takes a lot of faith. But what happened next? Did this shift in perspective actually lead to something positive?
Here's the kicker. He claims that this experience ultimately led to even greater financial success. A few months later, one of their videos went viral, generating $10 million in revenue. He believes that by expanding his vessel through his unwavering certainty, he attracted even greater abundance.
Okay, so he turned a major loss into a massive win. But I have to ask, doesn't this imply that if we simply tell ourselves everything is good, we'll just manifest more bad things?
That's a natural concern. Ghiyam makes a distinction between passively accepting negative situations and actively choosing to see the potential good within them. It's about recognizing that difficult experiences often hold hidden blessings and opportunities for growth.
So it's not about ignoring reality, but about choosing to focus on the potential for positive transformation.
Precisely. He refers to pain as a circuit breaker. It can shatter limiting beliefs and force us to expand our capacity. While we shouldn't actively seek out suffering, we can view it as a potential sign that we're on the cusp of a breakthrough.
This seems to circle back to building the vessel, right? Expanding our ability to handle greater levels of abundance.
Exactly. And in the interview, Ghiyam shares some practical advice on how to do that.
Okay, give us the goods. What can we start doing today to strengthen our vessels and become more receptive to abundance?
First, identify and challenge those pesky limiting beliefs, just like Ghiyam did with his belief that wealthy people were unhappy. It's about becoming aware of the negative thoughts and assumptions that might be holding you back.
So being mindful of our inner critic and choosing more empowering beliefs instead. What else?
He emphasizes surrounding yourself with individuals who embody the qualities you want to cultivate. He believes their energy can influence you positively, helping you absorb their wisdom and consciousness.
It's like the saying, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Their energy can rub off on you.
And of course, cultivate certainty. Choose to see the good, even in challenging situations. Ghiyam suggests repeating everything is good as a mantra to reinforce this belief.
Is that a bit like faking it till you make it?
You could say that. By consistently aligning your thoughts and words with positivity and abundance, you can shift your energy and attract what you desire.
Got it. Challenge limiting beliefs, surround yourself with positive influences, and practice certainty. What else can we do to build our vessels?
Guillaume highlights the importance of giving back and adding value to others. He believes that by becoming a conduit for positive energy, you facilitate the flow of abundance in your own life.
So it's not just about receiving, but also about sharing the wealth, so to speak.
Precisely. And this includes paying attention to your words. Guillaume warns, you want to be successful, shut your mouth. He believes that negative speech creates energetic blocks that hinder your progress.
He's not a fan of complaining, gossiping, or anything that lowers your vibration.
Right. He believes that every negative word emits a negative force that can block your blessings. But speaking of blocks, he mentions that the need for approval is one of the biggest things keeping our vessels small.
You mean seeking validation from others? How does that tie into abundance?
He emphasizes the importance of shifting our primary source of approval from other people to the Creator,
Right.
recognizing our inherent worthiness without relying on external validation.
It's about realizing that true self-worth comes from within, not from what others think of us. He uses the example of his friend Patrick Bet-David, who achieved massive success after prioritizing authenticity over the fear of disapproval.
Yes. Bet David had this realization, saying that the only approval he needed was from a higher power.
Wow, that's a powerful statement. It sounds like true freedom comes from letting go of the need to please everyone and aligning with your authentic self. But we've been talking about receiving abundance for ourselves. What about attracting abundance in relationships? Specifically, what about soulmates?
Ghiyam has a really interesting take on that, suggesting that it's not so much about finding the perfect person, but about aligning your energy to attract the relationship you desire.
So it's less about finding the one and more about becoming the type of person who attracts that kind of love. That's empowering.
Yes. And he even suggests that you can manifest soulmate energy into your existing relationships.
Wait, so you don't necessarily have to go out and find a new partner? You can actually transform your current relationship into a soulmate connection. How is that even possible?
He believes that by doing your own inner work and raising your vibration, you can attract that soulmate energy regardless of who you're with. He actually told Lewis Howes, if you do enough spiritual work, you could wake up one day and the soul of your soulmate enters the man or woman you're with, and they become a different person.
That's a bold claim. I'm a bit skeptical, but I have to admit that's a fascinating concept. So instead of looking for a perfect partner, you focus on becoming the best version of yourself. And that will attract the love you desire.
That's the idea. Ghiyam's own relationship with his fiancée, Mary Ruth, is an interesting example. He mentioned that they chose to delay intimacy for a period of time when they first started dating.
Interesting. What was the reasoning behind that decision?
Ghiyam explained that they wanted to build a strong foundation and get to know each other spiritually before introducing the complexities of physical intimacy. He believes that delaying intimacy created a protective layer against negative energy.
That makes sense. Sometimes jumping into physical intimacy too quickly can cloud your judgment and make it harder to see if you're truly compatible on a deeper level.
Exactly. He even went so far as to say that when you have sex with someone, you draw to the person all of the spiritual baggage of their past partners as well.
Whoa, their past partner's baggage. How does that work?
It didn't go into the mechanics of it, but he suggested that there's an energetic exchange that happens during intimacy. And it can carry a lot of weight. He said it can feel like you're carrying heavier weight and feeling things that almost aren't you at times.
So by building a solid foundation and taking things slower, you can potentially avoid taking on that extra baggage.
That's his perspective. And speaking of baggage, he also talked about the spiritual consequences of negative speech. Remember his advice, you want to be successful, shut your mouth.
Right. He seems to think that our words have a lot of power. But why is he so against negative speech?
He believes that every negative word you speak creates a negative force in the world that can block your blessings and hinder your progress. He even categorized different types of negative speech.
Oh, right. What were those categories again?
He mentioned complaining, lying, brown-nosing, being mean, gossiping, and speaking unnecessarily. Basically, anything that comes from a place of negativity or lack.
It sounds like he's advocating for a conscious awareness of our words and their potential impact. But are there real-world consequences to negative speech? Or is this more of an energetic concept?
He believes it can manifest in all sorts of ways, from minor inconveniences like a cracked phone screen or a parking ticket, to more serious issues like getting sick.
He actually believes that sickness can be a cleansing process, a way to purge negative energy we've created through our words.
Yes, he said that after sickness, people often feel more spiritual and clearer because of the purging of negative forces.
That's an interesting way to look at it. So by choosing our words carefully and focusing on positivity and love, we can avoid creating those energetic blocks. Are there any other practices he recommends for maintaining a positive energetic flow?
He suggests being cautious about who you share your dreams and plans with, especially in the early stages. He advises against talking about what you're working on for the first 40 to 90 days.
Why the secrecy? Is it about avoiding competition?
Not exactly. He believes that sharing prematurely can invite negative energy from others, even unintentionally. He suggests that it can trigger feelings of lack or jealousy, even in people who love and support you.
So it's about protecting your dreams and allowing them to incubate without outside interference.
Yes, and he even compared it to pregnancy, saying that in the first 90 days. The soul is very vulnerable and susceptible to outside influences. He shared a personal story about how sharing news of a pregnancy with a relative who was struggling with infertility led to feelings of lack and envy that he believes contributed to a miscarriage.
That's heavy stuff. It sounds like he's saying that you need to be mindful of the energy you expose your dreams and aspirations to, especially in the early stages of development. But what about his own experiences with hardship and adversity? He went through years of financial struggle while helping others achieve abundance. How does he explain that?
That's a great question. Lewis Howes actually asked him about that in the interview, asking why it took him until his late 30s to achieve financial success.
What did he say about that? Was it all part of a bigger plan?
He shared that one of his mentors told him that he was blessed, that the Creator designed his life to be difficult early on, that the struggles he faced prepared him to handle the influx of abundance later in life.
So he's suggesting that those difficult years weren't a punishment, but a preparation.
Exactly. He believes he learned valuable lessons about himself, relationships, and business during those years of financial struggle that he wouldn't have learned if he had been successful early on.
It's like he was building a solid foundation for a skyscraper. You can't just erect a towering structure on unstable ground.
That's a great analogy. He also emphasized the importance of detachment, not being overly attached to any particular outcome or possession. He believes that true abundance comes from a place of inner peace and certainty, not from clinging to external things.
That makes me think of the saying, the only constant is change.
Yes. And he shared a story about a wealthy friend in the Hamptons who wasn't fazed by the idea of losing everything because he knew he had the ability to create it all again.
He had a deep sense of self-reliance and trust in his own abilities. He wasn't defined by his possessions.
Exactly. And Ghiyam realized that this detachment was a key factor in his friend's success. But he also acknowledged that he himself struggled to apply these principles in his own life for many years.
He was teaching these principles, but not living them. What was the disconnect there?
He said that he had been taught to delete himself from the equation and focus solely on being of service to others. However, he eventually realized that this selflessness was blocking his own abundance.
So he was giving so much of himself that he wasn't allowing himself to receive.
Precisely. He admitted to Lewis Howes that this was the biggest short circuit blocking his abundance. He was operating from a place of lack, even though he was surrounded by abundance.
It's a reminder that it's not selfish to desire abundance. In fact, our own abundance can actually empower us to give more to others.
Absolutely. And it highlights how our beliefs about money, success, and abundance can impact our ability to receive. Remember his story about believing that wealthy people were unhappy?
Right. That belief stemmed from his experiences mentoring wealthy families struggling with dysfunction. He internalized that belief, which then blocked him from creating wealth himself.
It's a classic example of a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you believe you're not worthy of abundance, you'll unconsciously sabotage your efforts to create it.
So how do we break free from these limiting beliefs?
Yeah.
How do we reprogram our subconscious to embrace abundance?
Ghiyam suggests shifting our focus from taking to giving. He even applies this to the fear of public speaking. He believes people are afraid of public speaking because they're trying to take approval from the audience instead of giving value.
That's an interesting perspective. So instead of worrying about what people will think of you, you focus on what you can offer them.
Yes, he said, if your only focus is to give, there's no fear. Because we become like God and there's no fear in God. He believes all fear comes from trying to take something, whether it's approval, validation, or something more tangible.
It's a powerful reminder that generosity and a service-oriented mindset can be incredibly empowering. It's about shifting from me to how can I serve?
Exactly. And he believes that this applies to all areas of life, not just public speaking, whether you're building a business, nurturing a relationship, or simply interacting with others. Operating from a place of giving can create a more fulfilling and abundant experience.
This conversation has been incredibly insightful.
Mm,
Guillaume's perspective on manifestation is thought-provoking, to say the least.
I agree. He offers a unique blend of spiritual wisdom and practical strategies that can help us navigate the complexities of life and create a more abundant and fulfilling reality.
But what about those facing truly difficult circumstances? How can they apply these principles when dealing with real pain and hardship? It can be hard to see the light when you're in the midst of a really dark time. How can you possibly focus on abundance and certainty when you're dealing with something like a serious illness or the loss of a loved one?
That's where Game's perspective on pain being a catalyst for growth becomes really important. He shared a story about his own father's car accident and how that experience, while incredibly difficult, ultimately led him to a deeper level of service and fulfillment.
I remember that story. It was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
He said his father actually told him he was going on a spiritual journey just 2 weeks before the accident.
And even though his father suffered for 17 years after the accident, Ghiyam was able to find meaning and purpose in that experience. He said he wouldn't have been on his path of serving and impacting others without his father going through that pain.
It's incredible how he was able to find meaning in such a tragic situation. He also mentioned having a premonition about his father's accident, saying he just knew something was going to happen.
He sees that as his soul recognizing a celestial contract being fulfilled. He even suggested that his father might have completed his soul's correction during the coma state, and that a new soul entered his body when he woke up.
That's a lot to process. It's almost like he's suggesting that even in the darkest moments, there can be a deeper spiritual purpose unfolding
Yeah.
that we might not be able to fully grasp. But how can we apply this to our own lives, especially when we're in the thick of difficult situations?
Ghiyam encourages us to look for the lessons and growth opportunities in our own challenging experiences. It's about choosing to focus on what we can learn and how we can evolve, even when it feels impossible.
So it's about finding the strength to look for the light, even when surrounded by darkness. It reminds me of the saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Exactly. And this ties back to his emphasis on certainty. Even when things feel like they're falling apart, we have the power to choose to believe that everything is ultimately for our highest good.
It's about trusting in a bigger plan, even when we can't see the whole picture. It's not easy, though. How can we cultivate that level of trust and certainty when everything inside of us is screaming, this is terrible?
It's a practice, for sure, and it might require a complete shift in perspective. Remember what Ghiyam said about the Creator wanting to give us everything? He believes that the challenges we face are actually designed to help us expand our capacity to receive those blessings.
So the struggles aren't a punishment, but a preparation for greater things to come. It's almost like we're being stretched and molded so we can hold more abundance in our lives.
That's a great way to put it. And the more we embrace this perspective, the more we can shift from fear and resistance to trust and acceptance, which can create a more open and receptive space for abundance to flow into.
This deep dive has definitely given me a lot to think about. Guillaume's insights are both challenging and inspiring.
I agree. He offers a unique blend of spiritual wisdom and practical advice that can help us navigate life's ups and downs and create a more fulfilling and abundant reality.
So as you reflect on everything we've discussed today, ask yourself, what's one area in your life where you feel blocked or limited? What's one limiting belief that might be holding you back in that area?
And how can you apply Ghiyam's principles? Building your vessel, embracing certainty, shifting from taking to giving, to start shifting your energy and attracting what you desire.
Remember, the Creator wants to give you everything. You are worthy and you deserve to have it all.